Hey guys, Rochelle here with Amethyst Ascension. If you are new here, welcome, and if you are returning, thank you so much for joining me again. So today I am going to be doing a walkthrough, and I know this is going to be a controversial walkthrough because it is an AI generated deck, and I had ordered this because I really love the colors in it. I got it off of Etsy, but I got it a little bit ago and then had issues with a missing card, a duplicated card and a missing card, and them sending out the other card. So it was before I realized about the ramifications of using AI art. I just thought it was the next cool thing. I was seeing it all over, and then I've seen a couple of videos about the ethics of using it, and I didn't realize that they actually take other people's work that is not public domain art and using it in these the software for that creates this AI art. Because if it was just like public domain art, I don't see where there's an issue with it, because other people make decks with public domain art. But if they're actually stealing art from other creators in order to create these decks, yeah, that's definitely an issue. So I'm gonna have to do a little bit more research about, like what AI programs are doing, because I haven't done any research myself. I just thought it was the next cool thing. I love the colors. So I want to do a walkthrough, but I also want to say I can tell you what my thoughts on this deck are. But anyways, let me just get started on the walkthrough. It's called the Sirius Tarot, and it does come with a very nice guidebook. And I seen this on Etsy, and I thought it was so pretty a little while back. And I'm a big color person, so I thought it was absolutely gorgeous. So the actual guidebook has, well, how to use the tarot cards, what are tarot cards, creating a connection, just other stuff, some spreads, some conditions. Sorry, let me make sure I'm in the, okay, with this new phone I have, because I just switched from an Android to a iPhone, and unless I'm just not knowing how to set it up on my phone, I can't pause it, so I have to keep on stopping and starting a new video every time there's an interruption, and there's always lots of interruptions. But anyways, it's got like tarot elements and combinations, fire, water, air, earth. It's got all that, and then it gets into the Fool. Well, all of the cards, and then upright and reversed, some astrological associations, archangel associations, keywords, and so I think the actual guidebook is actually pretty good here. And it goes all the way to the King of Wands, and that's, so we've got 170 pages. It's a very nice constructed book. And it also came in a bag, a nice like muslin bag with the Sirius Tarot on there, which is really nice. Now, onto the cards. Sorry if you can hear the dogs. They got some new toys for Christmas, and they're just squeaking away at it. Okay, so these are the backs. It came with an extra card. The backs kind of reminded me of like the Cosmos and Planet. That was another reason that I was really drawn to it. And the colors. So this is like an extra card. But this is what all the backs look like. We have the Fool. Magician. High Priestess. I will say I have noticed after I purchased this, and I will put a link down below to the place where I got this on Etsy, but after I purchased this, I noticed a lot more AI decks that look very similar to this particular deck. I mean, gosh, this is why. See, the colors just drew me in. And until I do more research, I'm not going to be buying any more AI-generated decks for sure. But, you know, it's also kind of nice to say I have one in my collection. I do think that these are so beautiful. I'm sorry if you can hear my husband snow blowing because we are just buried. These are glossy. I did end up edging all mine, which I'll show you afterwards, in a, this is Justice. I love all the feathers too. It feels very ethereal. I'm very curious after watching a couple of videos and what they said about how they are, these AI softwares are actually stealing other people's art. I wonder what art they're stealing. And that's probably maybe the difference of what AI decks we use. I mean, if it is public domain art, I don't see where that is any different than people making clones of Rider-Waite-Smith, which is public domain art. Because to my understanding, it's still taking somebody that's putting in their interpretations and stuff. Please correct me if I'm wrong, and let me know in the comments, you know, how you feel about this new AI stuff. Because like I said, until I do some research and find out, and maybe it's different software programs that you would want to use, and find out whether or not this is actually people that are putting it in their own art that they have created and into this AI system, and then it making these images, you know, and putting in color, and how much involvement, I guess, is the creator really doing in these decks? I guess that's my question. I will say it is very pippish. But oh my goodness. Another thing. I mean, I guess after you have one, because they all do kind of look alike, I guess it depends on which one you're drawn to, because you're probably not going to be really into purchasing a whole bunch more, because they're all very similar. I mean, that I've seen thus far. So I'm wondering where the artwork is that they are feeding into these machines. The other aspect of that is, though, for those people that are not really artistic like myself, if they do like watercolors, and I don't know how it works because I haven't used anything like this. I mean, I don't even make like digital art, you know, for selling or anything like that. I'm not really too artistically inclined. But let's say somebody is very color inclined, and they put in a whole bunch of different colors and concepts, what is it creating? You know what I mean? How much creative license is allowed for that? I mean, what is the right, like, what is the right thing to do in that regard? I do think this is beautiful. Now, as far as it being soulless, I've heard people say that this is like soulless art. I don't know, because there are many questions that have to be asked. And like I said, I don't know whether or not, you know, this is somebody putting in like parts of their own art and seeing what comes up out of it, because a lot of these images are so similar. That's what it makes me feel like. I loved the color usage and the ethereal feel of these cards. But you know, I will say, like, when we go to the grocery store and we use the fast checkouts instead of using, you know, people taking their jobs that way, automation taking their jobs that way, it does feel like this kind of stuff is definitely taking people's jobs. But are they being replaced in other areas? I mean, I don't know. I'm definitely not educated enough to make that call. And I would be curious if you know of an actual artist that their work was like taken and ripped off and used in this system. And are there different AI systems? So is one system more ethical than another system? I don't know. That's why I would love your comments. Help educate me, please. I mean, I'm going to do some research myself too, but if you know, already have some inside information on this, I do want to know, because ultimately, okay, sorry, I have to keep stopping and starting. Because ultimately, I really want to support other artists. That's why I buy indie decks all the time. I mean, I probably, half of my collection, which is over 230 decks, 235 decks, I'm not sure exactly. A good half of those are indie decks, you know, that, not that I don't like mass market, I do. I like mass market as well, especially because they're easily more replaceable. I like that. If something should ever happen, you know, and the cost factor obviously is really good. And there are some excellent mass market decks. But I love to also support independent artists, and the price is heftier, but I am willing to pay that price in order to support. I mean, I've heard that going around, you know, that indie's like overrated and I don't buy indie. So, and I've seen the other side of that argument as well. So is there like a balance? Do we have to seek a balance? And is there something that we can do if these kind of decks are being created using other people's art that they're not supposed to be? And is there actual like legal suits that are going on because it's doing this? I mean, I don't know. I don't plan on giving this deck away. I do plan on using it and seeing whether or not I can feel any kind of soul. I think everything that is created in our matrix carries energy, regardless of whether that's created by using an AI software. I think that there's still art in that. So to say it's like soulless, I don't know. I haven't worked with it. This doesn't feel soulless to me. Definitely feel energy coming off of it. But I also definitely want to make sure that if this is something that this art was taken, you know, like when people buy like stolen decks, what is it called? Like rip-off decks. I never ever support that either. You know, definitely not. And is that what is happening here? So if there is something, and I'm going to be contacting the place where I purchased this and ask them what software they used to create this particular deck. You know, and if they know whether or not there's actual people that have taken the art or have had their art ripped off, you know, in order to feed into this particular deck, to create this particular deck. And others that I've seen that are very, very similar from different creators. So obviously they're, well, I can't say obviously, but it seems like they're using the same software. So anyways, thank you so much for, if you do have your own thoughts on this, please be respectful, because this is something new for me, like I said. And there was another deck that I purchased for my friend and myself on Kickstarter quite a while ago that's AI, before I realized the ramifications of AI, and knowing, you know, about everything that I've just talked about in this video. So I have that coming as well, that we both just thought the art was just beautiful. But, and it is a little bit similar. Not quite, but it is very similar to this deck as well. So for the time being, I have no other future plans on purchasing any other ones. And I honestly, from the ones that I've seen out there, after you get probably one or two decks, you probably wouldn't need to, because they do look so similar. Seriously, once you have one. So if that's the case, I can't really see it really taken off big time. But I do want to know all of the actual underlining questions, like, are they actually stealing art, and who are these artists that they're stealing this art from? Or is it actual people that are creating these decks using their own art and inputting their own art and then seeing what comes up in it? You know what I mean? Because ethically, that changes it for me. I feel like they're still putting in their art, regardless of whether or not AI software is manipulating it. They're still putting in their art. So I look at that the same as somebody taking the public domain Rider-Waite-Smith artwork and manipulating a little bit and creating a deck with it, like changing the colors and stuff. They're still taking public domain art that already existed and using it, regardless of whether or not it is, they're putting a hand in it. That's the whole thing. Is there a hand also being put into these? Is this stolen artwork, or is it artwork that's actually created by someone and then put into the system? These are all questions I want to ask, instead of just taking a couple of videos' word for it. And I'm not saying that they don't know. Maybe they have done their research. But for me, for my own ethics, that's what I want to do, is some research. But I can tell you, from what I have seen in the artwork, I've seen many other decks that look very similar to this that are AI created, and I just honestly can't see it being a huge craze because people like diversity. They like to have, that's why they buy different decks. So not just a whole bunch of these, you know, the same kind of artwork, if that's the case. I can't see it really going too far. But that's just my perception. So thank you for joining me. Please leave me a comment down below if you have further information or you actually know of artists that their work is being ripped off. Definitely, you know, I would like to know that. And I'm sure other people that are in this community would want to know that as well. So thank you so much for your time, and I am sending you love always. Oh, and Merry Christmas, guys.